Madam Deputy Speaker, and I want to start by congratulating the Honourable Lady, the Member for Bath, for securing this really important debate. And I think it's been an excellent debate and one with a great degree of consensus across the Chamber. Now, the Government should accept that fracking is both dangerous and exacerbates global warming. In our opinion, fracking should never be allowed, and it certainly should not be approved via permitted development or the nationally significant infrastructure projects regime, rather than achieving local planning permission. Permitted development and the NSIP regime bypass both the local decision-making process and local people, and to propose such systems for fracking determination is absolutely reckless. With regard to permitted development, such is the madness of the Government's approach that even their own MPs have said it is nothing short of irresponsible and downright bonkers. And the member for Fylde, who's currently in his place, speaks for just about everyone when he says, who on earth thinks that fracking is equivalent to putting a small extension on the side of your bungalow? Now, currently, the planning position is that those seeking to develop shale gas exploration need to secure full planning permission. Decisions must be made in line with the NPPF, and local planning authorities should have a section on mineral extraction in their local plan, and they need to follow the minerals section of the online planning practice guidance, because this guidance covers principal issues that mineral planning authorities should address, such as noise, dust, air quality, lighting, visual impact, and so on. It's not clear whether the impact on agriculture or safety or heritage or flooding or safeguarding land would be analysed or protected under the permitted development regime. While we recognise that there are exemptions to the proposed policy in terms of national parks, etc., we think that the intrusive nature of shale gas exploration means that wherever it is intended to be, it should have to go through the local planning permission system. Also, the consultation is not clear about exactly what conditions would be applied to shale gas exploration, as these will be outlined in legislation which obviously we haven't seen. So we think that fracking should not go ahead under permitted development with prior approval or not. And we are not alone. The Government's approach to fracking has been criticised by almost everyone, apart from the fracking companies themselves and some on the opposite side. The Royal Town Planning Institute have said blanket permissions for shale gas exploration in England are completely unsuitable and fly in the face of good planning. And it has warned that the scale and sheer complexity of exploratory drilling dwarfs development covered by permitted development rights, ignoring the hugely sensitive local issues and environmental hazards associated with shale gas exploration. The Government's consultation on permitted development for shale gas exploration closed in October 2018, as did the consultation on approving planning permission for fracking under the NSIP regime. So where are the Government's responses to these? How long are we going to have to wait? Now, the NSIP regime, Madam Deputy Speaker, suffers from many of the same drawbacks as permitted development, and using the NSIP regime to give planning consent would also override the local planning process. The Housing, Communities and Local Government Select Committee have called on the Government to ensure planning applications for fracking remain at the local level, as councils are best placed to understand their area. It was a point, I thought, excellently confirmed by my honourable friend, the member for Sheffield South East, the chair of the Select Committee, earlier. We know that the vast majority of submissions were anti the Government's approach. For example, Lancashire, Bolton, Brighton and Surrey are among councils who have opposed the permitted development change, and some have called the proposals an affront to democracy. The LGA responded to the Government's consultation saying, we do not support proposals for a permitted development right for shale gas exploration. This will bypass the local democratic system. People living near fracking sites and who are most affected by them have a right to be heard, and my honourable friends for Sheffield, Healy and West Lancashire made that point excellently. A permitted right for shale gas exploration would fundamentally undermine the local planning process and stops councils consulting on issues that are relevant to fracking applications, such as the potential for seismic activity, and of course we know this has actually happened, water pollution, disposal of wastewater, well construction and well integrity, and water availability. These were points made very well by honourable and right honourable members for Fyle, Arundel and South Downs, Preston, Surbiton, Thirsk and Malton, and Ellesmere Port. These very serious areas of concern have simply not been addressed by the Government to date. So it's time for the Government to think again, not only about permitted development for fracking and using the NSIP regime for determination, but fracking itself. We know that Conservative plans to force through dangerous fracking would release CO2 equivalent to the life emissions of almost 300 million cars. It will hugely add to climate change and undermine the Paris Agreement, exactly what the Honourable Member for Swansea West and Reading East confirmed this afternoon. Community and environmental groups, including CPRE and Friends of the Earth, have fought back against these proposals, including taking the Government to court. But the Government have ploughed on regardless, including withdrawing support for safer sources of energy such as nuclear, tidal and onshore wind, points made excellently by the member for Wells and North East Derbyshire and Bristol West. In power, Madam Deputy Speaker, Labour will listen to the voices of communities across our country and ban fracking. Instead, we will invest in new renewables, end barriers to onshore wind and support new nuclear as part of a sustainable and secure energy mix. And we strongly urge the Government to reject both the NSIP regime and permitted development as routes to achieve consent for fracking.
Minister Kit Mulcahy.
Madam